dwellers and Jara Marbles curious. It's wonderful that you've been able to come along again. I hope that you're all well and in position comfortably for what is our 5th podcast, I know. And this week it's going to be about 8 things to never apologise for. I just think that there are so many things that we forget that we are actually entitled to, and one of the most, I think, obvious things is air. And I think sometimes the way we present to the world is though we are not entitled and we don't even realise it. As Maya Angelou said, and one of the best feelings ever is laughing with someone and realising halfway how much you enjoy them and their existence. I think we've all experienced that, where we've had a lovely laugh with somebody, we're feeling really good about the world. Laughing just puts everything in perspective. The point being there is that when you're feeling good about everything, you don't then feel like you've got to apologise about everything. Well, I think we don't want to waste too much time here with my big fabulous introduction. Oh, shush, Bob. Let's go to it, and I hope you enjoy it. So here we go. 8 things to never apologise for. Needing to be heard, wanting more out of life, doing things your way, being a little extra glam, having high standards, the passion in you, your dreams, and showing up like a boss. Now, this is just a little friendly reminder. You don't always need to be what people expect you to be or do. It's really striking that balance. Now, sometimes we're able to do it. Sometimes we pull it off. We're able to, have those times where we're getting the green lights, we feel on top of the world, the sun seems yellower, the blue sky seems bluer, and we feel good about everything. But as we know, it doesn't take much, it would appear sometimes, for just enough thoughts or triggers or a smell or something that can send us reeling into not feeling so great. Everything is energy. Your thought begins it, your emotions amplify it, and your action increases the real flow in your life. I mean, nothing will change if nothing changes. By the same token, it's okay if you don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes we do just have to rest. Just make sure your worst enemy doesn't live between your 2 ears. If you know mean comments would upset someone, why would you comment mean things to yourself? I mean, this is something that I have found so many times in my own life that quite often the answers are so simple, as in a simple question is, how do we know we're making progress? Well, see if you're being kinder to yourself. It really does start with us. It starts with how we are treating ourselves. And those thoughts, we've got to catch them, we've got to monitor them and go, no, you're out. We're not having any of that nonsense today. Oh, bollocks! Oh, shush, Bob. Never apologise for needing to be heard. When a person really cares for you, they really want to know what you have to say, who you are, and it does not require or ask anyone else's permission. I think it's really important to be able to hear that. Of course, you want more out of your life, and let's face it, if you are all at peace with your lot, you wouldn't feel like you wanted more. There's always more to have and always more experiences. We all have our own way of doing things. That is what makes all of us unique. Never apologise for having your own take on things. I love hearing different perspectives and seeing different ideas take shape. Life is like a book. If we're lucky, we'll have many chapters. Woohoo! I remember once I was riding on my bike. I was riding home. It was late, winter, pitch black. I was around 15 years old. It was a school night, and I was riding quiet roads, and not all of them were lit. Well, once you've veered off the main roads, that's when you just saw so many streets with just pure blackness. And I'd spotted a car in the distance that just didn't seem to be getting any closer and fast enough. It just didn't seem to be moving fast enough. And so I kept my eye on it. And as I went to turn left, I turned to see where the car was, and it seemed to be approaching quite fast. So I rode really fast down this road and up onto the footpath, and I could hear the gears change. It makes me nervous just thinking about it. And I could hear the gears, changing down. So I knew the car was coming, and it sounded like it was changing gears to slow down in order to come around this corner where I was. So I stopped in front of what was this really huge hedge. I saw the lights of the car on the road, not far from physically turning into where I was, into the road that I turned into. And I grabbed my bike with two hands, one on the seat, one on the handles, and I dragged it and myself right into this hedge. Within seconds, this car was speeding down the road and stopped right in front of the hedge. I could hear my heart pumping in my ears. I tried to ease my breathing. It was cold, and I didn't know if the steam from my breathing was like pouring out of the hedge. I was so scared. The next thing, he steps out of the car, closes the door, and he looks toward the house behind the hedge that I was in. I felt like he was looking right at me. He's walking now, and he starts walking up the driveway, and then he stops to listen and sort of watch. I don't know. I didn't dare move. All I remember is just, I think I probably was holding my breath, and I couldn't turn my head to see where he was for fear of, rustling the bushes of the hedge. And next thing, a light goes on in a house directly across the road, like inside the house, and a light on the porch. And the light was so strong that it actually made my eyes squint. So anyway, this guy, he turns around and he walks back to his car, he jumps in, does a U-turn, and drives back onto the main road, which is just up on the corner there. Meanwhile, I'm pushing my bike out and myself out of this hedge. I'm looking down, and there were just leaves all over the footpath. And I guess at that moment, I was like, thank goodness there was no overhead lighting, because it was pretty obvious something was going on there. Mind you, it might have been from when I was pushing myself out. Anyway, I guess I'll never know. But knowing full well that the light across the road had put him off, I just jumped on my bike, and I just rode like the wind to get home. Experiences shape us, and sometimes sheer thinking on both feet saves the day. I've got to say, I had no plans in pulling myself into a hedge that night, but I just didn't see any option. I guess I must have really treasured my bike, because it wasn't like I threw the bike on the ground and went and hid somewhere. It was me and the bike in the hedge. Not all of our chapters will be sweet and delicious, but certainly the stuff we get to talk about means we've successfully passed through. That experience taught me that I'm absolutely correct to keep an eye on my surrounds, trust my instincts, and get creative very quickly. As long as I can remember, I have acted without question if I sense something amiss, and also if something feels right. Never apologise for adding a little extra glam to your get-up. My main motivation is it makes me feel so much better, lifts my spirits, and I never regret making effort for myself, and either should you. And that little bit of effort might be wearing heels, it could be putting on a bit of lipstick, taking a little bit extra time with my hair. I know that by the time I go out into the world, that effort that I've made, I'm always pleased that I did. And it's not about anybody else. It's just caring for me. And it does work. And I can't recommend it highly enough, actually. Having high standards. Never apologise for having high standards. You will never regret that if someone has a problem with that, then they are revealing how low theirs are. I feel that when we start compromising what we actually are happy with, it's just a very slippery slope after that. Never apologise for being passionate. Full stop. Those are your gifts, your signposts for where your next step should lie. I feel that sometimes passion can come wrapped up in all sorts of different parcels. It might be passionate about politics or music or people, or passionate about your music, passionate about cooking, your garden, passionate about drying out your chilies that you've grown on the porch. It could be just passionate about anything. I think something that causes you to feel, happy about what you're doing, sharing what you're doing, it just gives that extra little oomph to what you're doing. Never apologise about having dreams. They are your own to treasure and cherish. Who's to say that your dreams will become your reality? I've heard of crazier things. Invite others to support you, and you in turn can support others' interests. There are so many different groups that exist. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, whether it's crocheting or whether it's painting or whether it's just getting together with people that, you just share a common bond. For quite a few years, I was a coach in a ladies' gym, and I made friends with a number of elder ladies who had joined the gym in their later years. I remember one lady I'd signed up when she was 73. I mean, I had nothing but admiration for her, because that takes a lot of courage to walk into a gym when it's not really been a part of your life, but you need something. So it came to my attention that quite a few of these ladies were either at home with sick husbands or they were widowed. And I asked them all individually if they'd like to get together for a coffee, which we did. And something like 10 years on, some of them have gone on holidays together, they've had sleepovers together, they support each other with hip replacements, they support each other with phone calls and emails in regard to the health of their families and just checking in with each other. And it's just been truly an honour and a pleasure for me to be a part of that. And they all came to my wedding, and I told everybody they were my ex-stepmothers or mother-in-laws, and I'd asked them to bring a photograph of a wedding of their sons and just superimposed a picture of me on where the bride's face was. And they brought that along to the wedding and had it on their table. Actually, I don't know whether I asked them to do that or whether I suggested it and they did it. I remember their initial responses, "Oh, we can't do that." It's like, "Yes, please do." And then one of the ladies yelled out, "What about the children?" So, I mean, that came about just so naturally. It wasn't a big plan. I really thought at the time that it would just be really lovely for them, given, their age group. They came from very similar eras and they had so much to share, and they were and are very wise, very kind, and so interesting to be around. Never apologise for showing up like a boss. We must be careful not to whip ourselves with the victim stick, to back down in the face of someone who is hurting us. It's okay to just say what you need to in any way you need to. It doesn't matter if they don't get it. It's not the point. It's show up for you. So many people waste their time trying to get some butthead to understand what it is that they're trying to get them to understand. Honestly, A, they don't want to. B, they just haven't got the grey matter or the care to do it. And this is just something that is so huge in our society, where so many, and it's not just women, it's men too, where they have partners who don't see them, do not want to even try and understand. So all the more reason to show up for you and accept you, like really care about you. Have you ever heard this one? The flower does not dream of the bee. It blossoms and the bee comes. I like that. I thought that was kind of good. Kind of like that a lot, actually. I hope that you did too. Sometimes I think it can be a little bit tricky to feel in a position to move forward, because all of us at some point can be filled with so much resentment. And resentment is usually a sign that you've abandoned yourself. And I think that we all do that. We have all done that, and we probably might again. But maybe the occurrence of it will be a lot less when you become aware of it, when you feel it coming on, or you feel that really yucky feeling inside of resentment. And it's just the concentration, the focus is on another person or other people or a situation that more than likely is unfair or not pleasant, and we've not let it go. Instead, we've got very resentful, and we just put it in a little corner and not realise that we're not thinking about, okay, where do I need to go? What are my next steps? What would I like to experience? It could be anything. You might start using that lovely childlike imagination of a trip that you've always wanted to make. people that you've always wanted to visit. And I think that just honouring that side of yourself, allowing yourself to really get into visualising it. I say this because I really lost touch with all of that for quite some time. I was busy with other things, etc., etc., but I really wasn't in that beautiful childlike state of really expecting and going out and getting a life that meant something to me. I really had no excuse from the outside looking in. My children were growing, out there living their lives successfully, happy, and I really didn't have an excuse, but I realised that I was bogged down by so many things that had happened that hadn't been processed properly, and some things just need a little bit of consideration, not the rest of my life to, ponder and beat myself up over or feel sad about or feel numb about. My main thing is feeling numb. And as I started looking at different aspects of my life, I thought and realised that I could sort this out a lot easier than I thought. And I think it's just because I was looking at it, I was focused on it, I was thinking about it. I wasn't running around after 3 girls and their social life, their needs, their wants, all of which I was happy to be there for. But I think it happens to a lot of us parents. We can get lost in the mix, especially if there's a divorce that's been in place, separations, and if they haven't been handled well by all parties. Unfortunately, it's the kids that suffer, and you know what? So do we too. And I think there comes a time when we have that opportunity to go, okay, how do I really feel about that? And you know what? It might not be all saucy and nice. It might be shitty and very ordinary, and so be it. You're not expected to get around, being, all that for all people. You've got to be all that for you. I'll just stop there at that moment. But I think you hear what I'm saying, right? Right. Something else that's come to my attention is sometimes saying I'm sorry seems to be more prevalently spoken at the end of sentences when speaking, where it's not appropriate, where it's not even making sense. You go to give someone something, I'm sorry, you walk past somebody, you haven't even touched them, I'm sorry, you give the person the wrong cup and realise it and correct it immediately, I'm sorry. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's like anything, it becomes a habit. When saying I'm sorry as though it's a grammatical symbol, as though it's a full stop, kind of breaks my heart a little bit when I hear someone saying I'm sorry as though the air's not theirs to breathe. I know it's just a habit and I know it can run deep. It seems to be in our collective consciousness now. I hear it a lot. It's conversations that I've had with my family and friends where it is something that is said so often now. That's why I wanted to talk about things to never apologise about. It seems I'm sorry has seeped into many areas of individuals' sense of self. Of course, there's so much more to that, but I figured, that it was worth mentioning, and I also giving 8 examples. Of course, there's so many other things that we don't need to apologise for, but I think that was probably a fair start. What do you think? Think it's rubbish? Well, you would, Bob. A wise man once said, be careful who you let on your ship, because some people will sink the whole ship just because they can't be captain. I've got to say, it's very challenging. And if it is something you're looking at, I'm so proud of how hard you're actually trying, because sometimes someone says something really small and it just fits into this empty place in your heart. If you have the habit of saying, I'm sorry, and you're aware of it, you're going to work on, you are going to work it out, like you always have everything else before. And one day you'll tell your story and how you've overcome it, and you will with all that you're going through now, and probably will become part of someone else's survival story. I love that. So remember, if you're not speaking it, you're storing it, and that gets heavy. It's a good day to be proud of how far you actually have come. No one talks about how lonely healing can feel. On the days you don't know what to choose your mental health. Can I say, and finish with this, if you're a giver, remember to learn your limits, because the takers don't have any. Boom, right there. I mean, ain't that the truth? Of course it is. I will have to finish up for the day. Thank you so much for dropping in. And I wanted to bid you adieu, but not forever, as is implied in the more formal expression. Apparently, when you're bidding someone adieu, you bid the adieu, that's more forever, as opposed to see you later. Oh God, I'm just confusing myself and everybody around me. Bollocks! Oh, shush, Bob. But can I just say thank you so much for dropping in today. And I would like to leave you with this thought. Surely not everyone was kung fu fighting. Hey, say good day to the family and the cat for me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.